Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Morgan. I am a labor and delivery nurse and knitter just outside of Seattle, Washington. And I want to thank you for being here. Whether this is your first time or if you're a returning viewer, I really appreciate you being here. It has been, I think, about 5 weeks since I podcasted last. I really wanted to be able to be more consistent with podcasting this year. But grad school is kicking my butt and I'm still a full-time labor and delivery nurse, and so all I do is go to work and do grad school work right now. So my FTE, I'm dropping to part-time at the end of March, and I'm really hoping that I get more time for making and recording. But until then, I am doing what I can. Today is Saturday, February 22nd, and I am here with a traditional podcast episode, so I'll go over what I'm wearing, finished objects, some works in progress, and then future plans. This episode is very finished object heavy. If anyone follows me on Instagram, I had a goal to finish a bunch of projects this month, and I kind of tallied all of my things together and found that I had 9 sleeves to knit. I was stuck on Sleeve Island for quite a few of my projects, and so my goal was to get through all of those sleeves before I cast on something new, and I was able to do that. So I have 1 finished adult garment and 3 finished baby garments. So it's a pretty successful 5 weeks. Let's start with what I'm wearing. This is my very newly finished balloon cardigan. I will stand up a little bit so you can take a peek. This is a pattern by Petite Knit, and I knitted it in Explore Knits and Fibers Surrey and Denali sock, held together in the color Snoqualmie. I have my stats here. I knitted a size 2 on 4mm needles. I started this project on November 9th and I finished it on February 15th, so it was on my needles for 98 days. This year I am trying to keep track of, my cat is rubbing up against the tripod, sorry. This year I am trying to keep better track of how much I'm knitting, how long projects are staying on the needles, and how much yarn I'm working through over the course of a year. I tend to be a extremely non-monogamous knitter. I tend to have several projects on my needles at once, so projects take me a long time to get through, and I just am curious to see how long that actually takes. So the more stats like that will be coming this year. So yes, I finished on February 15th. For the size 2, I used 307 grams of the sock yarn and 179 grams of the Surrey. So in total, I used 486 grams for 2,402 yards total. I am a huge fan of this sweater. The balloon sleeves are super nice. I really do enjoy balloon sleeves. The buttons that I originally picked out for this cardigan, let me see if I can find them. I got the yarn at La Mercerie, and I got the buttons there as well. And they're these really cute black metal buttons. I don't know if that's gonna focus. Merp. Let's try this. Yeah, and they're pretty thin, but when I attached them to this cardigan, they were really heavy, and so they just kind of weighed the sweater down. So I found these brown wood buttons in my button stash, and I'm not in love with them, but they'll work for now. I'm not someone who typically buttons up my cardigans, so the buttons are very much there for aesthetic purposes, so I may try and find some different buttons, but other than that, I love it. The fit is great. The body, similar to my Agnete cardigan, the body grew a lot more than I thought it would with blocking. So it turns out to be like just below my hips. But I tend to like a longer cardigan anyways. This was not intended to be cropped. So I am very happy with the way that it worked out. Okay. My next finished object is my January socks. So these are the Firefly socks by Jennifer Hagen. Here is a close-up of the cabling. I should have brought my sock blockers over here, but I didn't. And these have not been blocked yet. But I have 2 finished socks now. I knitted these in Explore Knits and Fibers Denali sock in the colorway Visualization, which was part of her winter solstice box this year, or in 2024. Let's see, I started these, there's only one size. I knitted them on 2.25 millimeter needles, which is my standard for socks. I started them on January 2nd and finished on January 30th. I knitted a 45 round leg and about 62 rounds for the foot and used 68 grams for this pair. I am a big fan of these. I like the cabling. I brought the cable, I can't remember if I talked about this last time because these were a whip last time, but I brought the cabling all the way down the toe, which I've never done before, and I quite like that. It just is very like fluid. So these are my January socks. For those that haven't been watching the podcast, I am doing a year of socks using up sock sets or sock yarn in my stash. This is inspired by Emily Curtis, who is Gently Chaotic Knits. I believe she's got a podcast here on YouTube. And so January socks got finished in January, which is nice. The next finished object I have is actually a duo. So I knitted my friend's baby girl's matching mini season sweaters. This is a pattern by Azetta. I love this pattern. You'll find that if you're here often. It's my favorite sweater for baby, my favorite pattern for baby sweaters. I just think it works up really quickly. It's on worsted weight yarn and a 4.5 millimeter needle, I think. Yeah, 4.5 millimeter needle. So they work up really quickly and they are just so dang cute. So I'll show you. I knitted, this is the size 1, which is 1 to 2 years. And then this is the size 2, which is 2 to 3 years. So they match. I don't know how in the heck I'm gonna hold these both up, but they are matching sweaters. The yarn I used for this was a very deep stash dive. It is Hello Stella Fibers Worsted Stella in the colorway Lavender Latte, which I'm pretty sure is from like 2020. So I've had this yarn in my stash for like 5 years. I originally bought it as a kit to go with a pattern, but this is not a color that I will wear. So I'm so glad that I used it for these. I think they came out so stinking cute. The pattern is Half Fisherman's Rib, which is just like pretty addictive in my opinion to work up. I fly through these sweaters and I love the double folded neckline. And then it's just 1x1 rib for the sleeve cuffs and the bottom ribbing. I did not alternate skeins on these projects. I wanted to just kind of let the yarn work its magic, and I really love the way that they worked up. I actually bought, I didn't bring them over here, but I also bought them matching like pink high top Vans so that they can wear their matching sweaters with their matching Vans. I love these sweaters. Let's see some stats. So again, I knitted the sizes 1 and 2, which is 1 to 2 years and 2 to 3 years. On a 4.5 millimeter needle. I started the first one on December 9th and had them both finished on February 8th. So about a month each seems about right. And I used 576 grams, which was 1,002 yards. If you watched the last episode, I was pretty nervous about playing yarn chicken and had saved the sleeve ribbing and the body ribbing for just in case I needed to use a different color, but I ended up having extra yarn because each skein had a few extra grams. So I think I ended up with like 17 grams left over in the end or something like that. So I got very lucky, but these are my mini season sweaters. And the younger girl is having her birthday party today, so I'm gonna gift them to them today. And because I feel like weirdly guilty about gifting both of the girls sweaters for one of the girls' birthdays, like it just, the timing timed out kind of weird, I also made something else for her. So I have loved these patterns for so long, and I've only made one before, but this pattern is by Mama Made Minis, and it's called the Mini Dozer Dino, and it's so cute. So I did pink and purple, just super girly. I used some safety eyes, and then it has little like knotted legs. These are really cute, like lovey stuffies. There's stuffing in the tail and the head, but everything else is just the yarn. These were made using Bernat blanket yarn that you can get at like Joann or Michael's. And I just really love how cute she is. So I'm really excited to give this to her today, and I can see myself making little stuffed animals like this for all of my friends' babies. I ended up getting quite a few skeins of the Bernat blanket to make up some more of these in different colors, and I'm really excited. And I was thinking maybe depending on like how many I end up making, I could also try and like sell them at a winter market this year or something like that, but we will see how that goes when the time comes. These are super quick to work up, so it's very, very chunky yarn, and it's crocheted on an 8mm hook, so they like fly off the hook. I think this took me 2 sittings, so like 2 afternoons. In one of them I knitted like the whole body, and then in the second one I knitted the spikes and just like assembled the whole thing. So they are super, super quick to work up, and they are highly addicting because they're so cute. Mama Made Minis has a bunch of different patterns. They have like a bunny, a cat, a dog, a dragon, a sloth, like so many cute patterns. They also have a book. Let me grab it. I actually have it. Okay. So they actually also have a book, which I have. This makes a little bit of a larger size. But they're super, super cute. It has all of the different patterns in them. So let's see what else they've got. They have a little chick, a unicorn, like so many really, really cute patterns. And these are a great gift idea for babies. And again, they work up really quickly. So I will definitely be making more of these. I have one more finished object, and this one is like from the vault. So I started knitting this, I think in 2022, maybe 2021. It was intended for my sister's best friend's baby, and then I completely lost my knitting mojo and didn't finish it. So I have since finished it. This is the Anchors blouse by Petite Knit, which is a very classic pattern. She's got this pattern for babies of all sizes as well as adults. And I knitted it, I don't have the ball band anymore, but it was just like a cheap acrylic yarn from Joann. I like using stuff like that so that people can just like throw it in the washer and dryer and like be fine with it. I had initially knitted this for 6 to 9 month olds and obviously didn't gauge swatch, and this thing is huge. So let me, this is the 1 to 2 year size season sweater. And this is the, actually I should put that one on top because I think this one's bigger. Yeah, a little bit bigger. So it's not 6 to 9th month size. It is more like a maybe 2 year size. The child that I originally was knitting it for is now 3, so it's not gonna fit him. But I will keep this in my cubby, and then when I run out of time to make a baby knit, I'll just have one that I can gift to whoever is having a baby. That is also a worsted weight yarn, and I knitted it on, this is how old it is. So these are my like original interchangeable needles, like the Leica ones. Wow, that's small font. 3.25mm, I think. That sounds right. That's what I used for that project. So I'm happy to have one of my languishing whips finished and another baby sweater that I can gift to whoever I need to. Let's have a coffee break. Let's dive into works in progress. So as we've already chatted about, I am doing a year of socks, and so my February socks, I am using a yarn from Tiny Human Knits, which is a self-striping yarn. That is what she is known for. This colorway is called Folklore, which I'm trying to pretend isn't Taylor Swift themed, but I feel like it's gotta be. But that's okay. This is the ball all caked up. And this is my first finished sock. So I am using I just like kind of went up or came up with it as I went. I did, I think, 20 rounds of a 2x2 rib, and then I'm doing broken rib for the whole sock except for the bottom of the foot, which I'm doing in stockinette. And then I did a slip stitch heel flap and gusset in a contrast color, but that actually matches pretty well. So I started this pair on February 5th, and I have this one finished, and I have not started the second one. And today is the 22nd, so I think there's only 6 days left of this month, so I really need to get going. I am actually taking a trip to Bainbridge this afternoon, so I am going to try and cast this on and at least work on the cuff and the leg on the ferry. And if it's a couple days late, it's a couple days late. We do our best, and that's all we can do. But I'm really enjoying how this is working up. I was kind of unsure about using a self-striping yarn with a broken rib texture. I was nervous that I was gonna get like those weird like pearl bumps, you know, when you change colors, and that it was gonna like make the stripes look more jagged, but it actually really hasn't. They look pretty smooth, so I'm really happy with it. For this, I did a 20 round ribbing. Let's see. And then I did 50 rows for, I did 50 rows for the leg, which is a quite long leg for me. And then 60 rounds for the gusset and foot. And I really love them. Reminds me of the sweater that I wore in my last podcast episode. The colors are very similar. Okay, my next work in project is my Lakes pullover. This is a pattern by Ozetta. I am buddy knitting this pattern with my friend Brenna, who learned how to knit last year. And we are getting close to the finish line here. So I don't know what the front and the back is anymore, but I think this is the front. So here's where we're at. We bound off the second sleeve a couple of days ago. So we've got 2 finished sleeves. And we just have to kind of work through the rest of the body. We are knitting this together, so I have not attached a new ball of yarn to the body yet, because she wants a refresher on like adding in more yarns. But hopefully we'll get this finished. Our goal was actually to get it done for her birthday, which is tomorrow, but that is not going to happen, unfortunately. But we will have it done soon, and then we'll have matching sweaters. So I'm knitting this in Lion Brand Fisherman wool in the color Heather Brown. I am knitting the size 2, and my favorite part is the, you guessed it, rolled over neckline. It looks so nice. It's a saddle shoulder construction, so you start by working the saddles, and then you pick up stitches to work the back, and then pick up stitches to work the front shoulders, and then you joint and knit in the round. I'm pretty sure that's how it worked. And then we picked up and knitted the collar and the 2 sleeves before finishing the body. I like to do that just because then I feel like when I'm trying it on, I can actually get a good sense of where the body's gonna hit. Adding the collar tends to like bring things up, and then the sleeves kind of bring things down from what I have experienced. So I like to add those on for sweaters like this, so that I can figure out how long I want the body, because this is nice and oversized, so I do want it to be like not cropped. I have plenty of yarn to go. I think I have 2 full skeins of fisherman's wool, and those skeins are huge, so I'm gonna have a ton of leftover, so we'll see what I do with it. But yes, second sleeve is finished, and now we just have to finish up the body, and then we'll have another finished project. I'm really excited to wear that one. My last whip is a Sweet Shop blanket. I am knitting this for a coworker who is having a baby in early May, and this is a series of Sweet Shop blankets that I'm making for people that I love that are having babies. I started it this week. I am doing a Hudson Bay like kind of color theme, and I'm using this yarn. Here, I'll show you this one that I haven't used yet. It's Lion Brand 100% Superwash Merino. This is 306 yards and 100 grams. It's about a DK weight. I've just been holding it single for this project, and the project calls for a DK weight, and it's working up just fine. Like I said, I'm doing like a Hudson Bay color theme, and I just started this week. So here is what I have. I have like 3.5 squares done. So the yellow is going to go here in these 2 spots, and then we'll do blue, and then we'll repeat. So I kind of mapped it out, and in order to gift this to her like the last week of April, I need to knit 2.5 squares per week. And this is week 1, and I've done 3.5, so I am ahead of schedule, which I love. But also, I've had like nothing on the needles. So I've been working on this a bit more than I think I probably will in the near future. But this is the Sweet Shop blanket pattern by Laura Penrose. I love this blanket pattern. This is my 3rd one. I have knitted a baby size before. I like a 5x5 for the baby size, and then I'm also finishing up a bigger one for myself using my winter boxes from 2024. That one is going to be a long-term project because I'm prioritizing the baby ones, but this is what it's looking like so far. I probably won't show this every podcast episode, but if I'm only podcasting every 5 weeks, this might very well be like halfway done next time I podcast, so who knows. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the yarn. It's really soft. The only thing I'll say is that it's kind of splitty. It is, how many plies is this? A 4-ply it looks like. But they just like split really easily. My needles find their way in between the different plies pretty frequently. But other than that, the yarn is nice and soft, and I think that it'll be manageable for non-knitters to like maintain, like washing and things like that. Those are my only works in progress right now. Like I said, I worked really hard to get a bunch of stuff off of my needles this month, and I have just the 1 sweater on the needles. I have not really had time to cast things on, again, grad school life, but I do have some swatches that I want to do. I'm hoping tomorrow. I am almost done with my schoolwork for the week, and the week ends on Sundays, so as long as I can finish up my last assignment and get it turned in, I will have some free time tomorrow in the evening to do some swatching. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to swatch. I have talked about these, a couple of these actually. One of them is newer. I've talked about this project though. You guys are probably so sick of me talking about wanting to make it. But I'm gonna swatch for it. So I am going to swatch for the Broom Sweater by Andrea Mowry using Farmer's Daughter Fibers Odang DK in the color Legend, which is basically a black. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I am pretty nervous about swatching with a black fuzzy yarn. I am not sure how I am going to see the stitches well enough to count my gauge. So I might just cast it on and just be prepared to frog if I need to, but also like frogging. So this is a DK weight Surrey. Let me see if it tells. It's 10% silk and 90% Surrey alpaca. So like frogging this is also not something that I want to do. So I don't know. If anyone has any tips, if anyone has swatched with this color of the Odang DK, I would love tips. I just am not really sure how I'm gonna differentiate between stitches, but maybe I'll try, and then if I knit up a few rows in a swatch and can't see what the heck is going on, then I'll just like cast on and hope for the best, I guess. I don't know, but this will become a broom sweater for sure. And then I have also talked about this one before, and this is also Farmer's Daughter Fibers. That's interesting. This is their Pishkun. Oop. There we go. And it is in the colorway Y Johnny Ringo. This is 100% Montana and Wyoming Rambouillet. It is, I think, a worsted weight, and I plan to swatch for the Eva cardigan by Petite Knit. It's a really pretty, like, ugly mustardy brown. And I'm really excited for this. I think it's going to work up pretty quickly. So then I'll have a pullover, like a simple stockinette pullover and a simple stockinette cardigan on the needles. And those are projects that will be easy to work through. I try really hard to cut myself off from schoolwork on my days off of nursing at 4 p.m. so that I can like wind down and like read a book and knit. Some nights I can't do that because there's just too much work to do, but I try really hard. So I'm hoping that I can get these swatched and cast on soon. The last one that I have recently fallen in love with and I'm absolutely hyperfixating on is one that Taylor Owens shared in her podcast, and it's the Afra sweater by Irene Lynn. And when I tell you I can't stop thinking about this pattern, I mean I cannot stop thinking about this pattern. It is so, so beautiful. And I am going to swatch for it using one of my favorite colorways ever. This is Exponents and Firebear's Fireheart. This is her Rockies DK, and I think I have just enough to make that sweater. This brown is like absolutely perfect in my opinion. And I have a bunch of skeins of this. I was originally gonna make a pressed flowers cardigan, but didn't end up buying enough yarn. I bought it at Flock Fiber Festival and just like didn't have enough. And I do have enough. I actually have 5 skeins of this, so it's gonna be perfect for that sweater. And I am going to swatch this up and probably cast on tomorrow because, like I said, I cannot get this sweater out of my head. Yeah, that's all for my knitting things. I used to talk about reading on this podcast back before, like, when I first started it years ago, and I have not been doing that since I restarted it. So if that's something you're interested in, please let me know and I can share. I recently finished Onyx Storm, and if you know, you know. And I'm currently reading a horror novel that is so creepy that I cannot read it before bed, and I am not easily spooked. So would be happy to chat about books as well. And I think that's all for today. Lots of finished projects, lots of fresh projects hopefully going onto the needles here soon. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you were able to get some progress on one of your works in project. I always do that, works in progress. While you were watching, I would love to hear where you're from and what you were knitting on while you were watching. If you made it this far, thank you so much. And I hope to record another podcast here soon, but I won't make any promises because grad school life. I hope you have the very best week, and I will see you next time. Happy knitting.